Hey everyone, and welcome. Let me just get my other feed going here before we start chatting. Go live on Instagram. Do. I've lost my mouse. It's hiding. There we go. Okay. Yay! We're live. You guys even get to see part of my work surface here. I didn't zoom in quite enough today. Good morning. I'm Susan Smith. I'm in my studio, Stitched by Susan. And today's topic is my #1 recommended beginning design for when you're starting free motion quilting, and kind of why, because that's who I am. Why do I recommend certain things? Pam is tuning in. Doreen, Debbie, Terry, Diane, Lucy, Chris. Lots of you on a Saturday morning in the U.S. Saturday afternoon elsewhere. Sandy. Fantastic. Okay. As always, within the comments, feel free to type in questions. You don't even have to put QQ in front of them because I'm basically running down them chronologically. Questions, comments, tips, etc. Sandra from Brazil. Awesome. Sandra, thanks for joining. You're a regular watcher. Kathy, Denise, Nadia in Switzerland. Awesome. And it's evening. Gail, Teresa, Gretchen, Deb, Jules, Karen, Cheryl, Kathy. Love your videos. It's so nice to know someone else who likes freehand edge-to-edge quilting. Plus, it's kind of expensive for the computerized long arm. So true. Pamela, Janet, seriously needed my coffee this morning. Me too. I've already had one, and I'll have another as soon as I'm off air. My time is finite this morning because our son is coming over for a brunch. So I am going to end and go off to that waffle brunch. Kirsten from Germany, welcome. Jeanette in Canada. Rose. Beta from Poland. Awesome. Okay, let's dive in. Couple kind of introductory remarks. I am on live YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram every day through the entire month of April, just talking machine quilting topics. Pretty casual, not really lessons. A lot of them are just my thoughts, opinions, experience, etc. As in today, my thoughts on what's a good design to start with as an absolute beginner to free motion or freehand quilting. And so live every day talking about those topics. You are welcome to send in topics, and many of you are, via email is the easiest way because I don't always see all of the comments attached to these videos. But you can email me, susan@stitchedbysusan.com, and I'll try and tuck in your answers to your questions within the upcoming topics as well. Free motion and edge-to-edge quilting are my first loves. I do all kinds of quilting. I do custom quilting too. I do have a computerized long arm machine. I do have all the bells and whistles at my fingertips. But what I enjoy doing, what satisfies me creatively, is the idea of quilting freehand. I drive it a long arm for the most part, so steering the handlebars, doodling with my 50-pound pencil, and edge-to-edge designs. So same design over the entire quilt. The quilts that I love to make and the quilts that chiefly the clients that I serve are making couch quilts, family quilts. So graduation, babies, wedding gifts, things like that. So that's the kind of quilting that I love to do. And I find that a lot of quilters, especially when they're at the beginning stages, are quite intimidated by, like, what do I choose and what's the first design I should learn, or what should I learn next, or like, where do I even start? So I'm trying to address at least the design aspects of that today. And by the way, I do have a workshop coming up later in April. It's going to be free. And if you're on my newsletter, you'll get notification of the time that it will be, called 5 Myths That Tie Freehand Quilters in Knots and How to Break Free of Them. And I'm diving quite deeply into this topic of things that hold you back. But one of the myths is, how do I decide what to quilt on a quilt? And I go into that in depth with a lot of pictures and examples for how I arrive at those decisions. And it can really help to just take that frozen feeling away and let you just approach your quilting with confidence. So today, let's just talk about one design that I think is a great one to start with. And let's see if any comments are coming in, just in case my sound or something isn't working. Waffles, I see lots of you would be enjoying the brunch too. Debbie in Cape Town, South Africa. We've got a few countries represented today. Whidbey Island, Washington. I know exactly where that is. We have a nephew there on the naval base. Great. Okay. Here's my thoughts on a design to start with. Let's start this way. What you hear most commonly from quilters, I think, is starting with a meander, which is just a moving, always turning, never crossing over type of quilting design. That's what I see primarily across the board for beginner level. I don't think that's the best choice. Number one, I don't think it's necessarily easy to quilt because you're always turning directions and it's difficult to learn. And number two, and this is a big reason for me, there's very little else you can do with it. You can change the size of it and that's about it. What else are you going to do with it? I mean, yours might be a little more curvaceous than mine or less, but really what else can you do with it? So I suggest a good beginner's freehand design, or if you've already started quilting, this might be one to really dive into in your repertoire, is a loop. So a loop that does in fact cross over. From there, let me just open your eyes a little bit to the possibilities. To begin with, there is size and scale. Large, giant, bubbly loops, or tinier, widely spaced, pumpkin vine, tenderly sort of loops. So even just with the spacing and the size, you can really change the look of it. But think of the other things that you can do to it. One of my favorite things to do is add what I call drop-ins. So, you're quilting for a little girl maybe, and she perhaps loves hearts. And so you drop in little tiny hearts. Or you're quilting for a gardener and they love all things leafy. So you learn 3 different leafy designs, an ivy leaf, an oak leaf, an aspen leaf, and you drop leaves in their quilt, and now it becomes personal, and you've just added it to your loopy design that you already know. Quilts of Valor, that's something that a lot of we quilters love to work on, honoring veterans in our country. Quilts of Valor dropping in stars, or I'm just spitballing here. I've gone so far as to put in Christmas trees and snowflakes, little pine tree shapes. So the sky is absolutely the limit. And for those ideas, I will take them from either who the quilt is for, or perhaps some of the fabrics that are in the quilt, right? If it's a Christmassy quilt and it's got snowflakes and pine trees in it, that's kind of an obvious choice. Or a little bell or a little bow. Can be absolutely anything. So you can see how getting comfortable quilting loops already opens up your design world to doing a whole ton of different and personalized freehand designs. Let's see what people are chiming in with. Annette, caught alive. Thanks for sharing. Suzanne in Virginia. Lorenda, not working. Oh, the video's not working, Lorenda? If so, I would exit out and come back in because lots and lots of people are chiming in that it is working. Victoria from England, you come on faithfully every day too. I appreciate it. Diane, I always add a heart to my family's quilt, usually hidden, and they have to find it. What a great idea. What a great idea. And I know people who add either a signature or a word or sometimes a Bible verse that's hidden in their quilts. But all these things, certainly, you can add in to a very simple loopy design. So I hope just that simple 2-minute talk has kind of opened your eyes to a design that is easy because you can cross over. There's no quilt police to say, don't cross over your previous line. Cross over it as often as you want to. But just by changing the size of the loops or how far they are spaced apart, you get different looks. And then by adding these little things to it, the sky is seriously the limit on that. And by the way, those loops also, that same almost figure 8 looping motion is exactly the same motion that you use to do quilted pebbles or bubbles. So when you see custom quilting that has this pebbly, bubbly background that you just think, I could never do that, it's exactly the same motion. They're just put right next to each other and made tiny. But if you can quilt loops, you can quilt bubbles and pebbles. Promise. So cool. Michelle, good morning. Valerie in BC, Canada. My home province, Claudia. Doreen. Doreen, thanks for doing yourself up with makeup and coming to us every day while we watch in our PJs. I've thought of coming on in my PJs, but no, that would not be a good look. Kathy, I hide the name of their college. What a great idea when you're doing it for a student. I mean, it could be college, it could be high school, it could be sports team, right? All kinds of things you can do. Barbara, good morning. Susan and Dave. Allie. The first quilt I was ever gifted was for my daughter, actually, but it was very loopy quilting with castles and stars. How creative. in the back. It's beautiful. All good ideas. So I see your imaginations are already sparked. I was just going to tuck in at the end here. The quilt behind me, someone was asking about it yesterday a little bit, and so I said today I would be looking straight on at it and tell you a tiny bit about it. It is a vintage quilt top. I would say pre-1940s, judging by the fabrics. I'm not an expert, but that's my opinion on the fabrics. And it is all hand-pieced, hexies and little diamonds. And I added the quilting to it, and I think I could show you the back even. If I get my face over there so that it shows you. There you go. It's a navy floral and then a tiny navy and white stripe on the binding. And I put wool batting in it, and it is one of my favorite couch quilts. When it's not hanging on this wall, I have a basket in my living room, and I always keep a couple of 3 quilts rolled up in there and little sausages, and that's one of my couch quilts. Awesome. Well, thanks you all for joining again. I'm here every day in the month of April, usually morning Pacific time. All kinds of topics related to machine quilting. So bring your questions, bring your comments. Let's chat. They're very informal and they're not lessons. They're just my opinion, my thoughts, my experience. So I'm happy to serve in any way that I can. Let me know if you do have questions and I'll try to bring those answers into future episodes. And as the month goes on, I'm going to be talking more too about my upcoming freehand quilting masterclass, which is a great big smorgasbord of all these edge-to-edge freehand type of designs that I love so much, and I've compiled a whole bunch of them, teach them in depth so that you have a repertoire of quilting designs, and then also my goal is to provide a springboard for you to take them and say, now I can personalize them and make them my own, and I can find ideas and create quilting designs from them. So there's a heavy focus on that. How did I arrive at these designs? How did they evolve? What creates a good design, and how can you create your own original freehand quilting designs? So all of that coming up as the month goes on and in the workshop at the end of the month. Sign up for my newsletter. That's the best way to know what's coming next. You can do that easily at my website, StitchedBySusan.com. You'll get a little pop-up window, name and email address, and you'll be there and you'll be getting the newsletters as the month goes on. Thanks for joining me so much. Have a great day, and I will catch up with you tomorrow.